The sun dipped low over Maple Avenue, washing the quiet street in shades of gold that hid the pain waiting behind one cracked porch. Everything looked peaceful from afar. Trimmed lawns, the hum of a gentle breeze, the kind of calm that makes you believe the world is still good. But inside that silence, a sound broke through, small, trembling, and full of heartbreak. A little boy stood clutching his teddy bear, his eyes red from tears. His voice shook as he whispered words that could freeze any heart. He hit my grandma. In that instant, the illusion of peace shattered. No child should ever have to speak those words, to carry fear that heavy. Yet there he stood, fragile but brave enough to seek help. And sometimes, that tiny voice, the courage of one child, becomes the spark that calls kindness into action. Behind that trembling voice was a story no one on Maple Avenue had truly seen. Inside the house, the soft light fell on Clara, her blue dress torn at the shoulder, a bruise darkening beneath her eye. She tried to smile for Ethan, to protect him from the truth. But pain has a way of speaking louder than words. And then there was Ray, the man who had promised to help, but brought only fear. The empty beer bottle in his hand told the story his silence couldn't. This wasn't the first time the walls had heard anger instead of laughter. For Ethan, home had become a place to run from, not to. His small heart carried more fear than any child should know. And yet, in that fear, there was still love, the kind that makes you cry out, hoping someone, somewhere, will finally listen. Ethan's small footsteps echoed down the path as he ran, his tears mixing with dust and sunlight. He didn't know where he was going, only that someone had to help. And just when the world seemed too big, too cruel for a child to face alone, the air filled with a deep, thunderous sound. Engines roared down Maple Avenue, their growl breaking through the quiet like a promise. 6 motorcycles appeared, chrome glinting in the fading sun. At their front rode Reed, a tall, broad man with a weathered face and eyes that had seen too much. To the world, he looked like trouble. But to Ethan, he was something else entirely. Strength wrapped in kindness. As the engines died, silence returned, heavy and expectant. Reed knelt beside the boy and asked softly, "What happened, buddy?" And in that single question, safety finally found its way to Ethan's world. Reed's gaze followed the trembling hand that pointed toward the porch, toward Clara, bruised and broken, and the man towering above her with a beer bottle still in his grasp. Something inside Red stirred, an old pain rising from memories he'd buried long ago. He'd seen this kind of cruelty before, and he'd sworn never to stand by again. Slowly, he rose, his crew forming a silent wall behind him. The street bus seemed to hold its breath as Reed stepped forward, calm and steady. Ray tried to sound defiant, muttering, "This ain't your business." But Reed's voice cut through the air, low and unwavering. "It became my business the moment I heard a child say those words. No shouting, no threats, just truth, heavy enough to make a grown man tremble." In that stillness, power changed hands, and fear finally met the face of courage. As Reed's truck disappeared down the street, a heavy calm settled over the neighborhood. Reed turned back to Clara, his expression softening. He knelt beside her, speaking gently, his voice carrying more care than anyone expected from a man covered in tattoos and leather. "No one should ever have to live scared," he said quietly, glancing toward Ethan. one by one. The bikers moved closer, not with noise or bravado, but with quiet kindness. One offered water. Another pulled out a first aid kit, hands steady and respectful. Neighbors peeked through curtains, watching men the world often judged as dangerous show what true strength really meant: compassion, protection, and dignity. Ethan clutched his teddy bear eyes, wide but calm, for the first time, and as Reed smiled faintly at him, the boy began to believe that heroes sometimes look nothing like the stories say they should. As the ambulance doors closed and Clara was safely inside, Ethan ran to Reed, wrapping his tiny arms around the biker's arm in a hug that said everything words couldn't. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice trembling but full of warmth. Reed's rough hands hesitated for a moment before resting gently on the boy's shoulder. When the sirens faded and the street grew quiet again, the bikers mounted their motorcycles. Reed paused, glancing back one last time at the little boy waving from the porch at the house that now held peace instead of fear. The engines roared to life, their echo rolling down Maple Avenue not as noise, but as a vow, a promise that kindness still rides where it's needed most. Because sometimes the people the world misunderstands the most are the ones who remind it what true courage and compassion really look like.